Okay. Welcome everybody to Tourism and Exit Tax Committee. We'll call it to order. First item of business would approve the minutes of the March 22nd Tourism and Exit Tax Committee meeting. Somebody want to make that motion? Supervisor Beatty, do we have a second? Supervisor Hogan, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, we will go right into the agenda items. First is Treasurer Swan here to give us an update on the number. I don't see him.
I think he's out this week.
Mike, are you on?
Ow.
No?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think he's out this week.
Okay, we'll go right into the Tourism Department quarterly report. Joanne?
I'm over in the back.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Good morning. So if we could start the PowerPoint, we'll click through some slides and take a look at the Q1 report.
Thank you.
And at the same time, Paul is distributing our 2021 travel guide and a couple of our Adirondack guide pieces that are very valuable to our visitors. So you have the travel guide in front of you. I'll just start with that. The travel guide this year, we only printed 80,000 copies of the guide, as opposed to last year we printed 125,000 of our full-sized guide. This piece is only 20 pages. We would typically start working on our guide in August for the upcoming year because it takes so long to put it together. So think back to August of last year. There were many uncertainties, so we decided to scale back a little bit. I think this guide is a good representation of all of the activities and things that there are to see and do in the county when you're visiting. And we will still distribute that at our usual distribution info centers. We will distribute it locally, the requests that come in, AAA offices and the like. And then in August of this year, we will begin working on our 2022 guide. I will note that winter is not included in this piece, but when we take delivery of our new guide, we do have it in December. So we will ramp right up to winter activities in the new guide. I would like to note that much of the photography in this guide was done by Casey O'Brien in our office. She's our social media coordinator, communications assistant, but she's done a lot of work, not only on social media, but in photography. So I credit much of this to her. Thank you. Oh, so there we go, cover the travel guide. So one thing that's not in the travel guide specifically are events, because of course we didn't know what was happening. So we will put a QR sticker on the front of the guide. And then if you just take your phone and you turn your camera on, it will quickly take you to the events page on our website. So for my review today, I will go over a handful of our key performance indicators. And the first is OCTAX, and I only showed that. I was thinking that Mike was going to be here, the county treasurer, but it will give you a review of occupancy tax collections 2016 through 2020. Tammy, thank you. So here we are, 2020, and the collections came in slightly below 2019, but all things considered, it was a fairly good year for us. Our Smith Trend Hotel demand. So because 2020 was the year that it was, I did include 2019, which in terms of hotel demand, we were over 1 million rooms in 2019. So the first couple of months of the year, indicators there were that we were off to a really great start. When we look at 2020, you can see that January and February were even higher than 2019. Oh, go back to the STR slide. Tammy, can you go back one slide to Smith? Oh, sorry. There we go. So we got off to a really great start in 2020. And then you can see in March, the numbers dropped when businesses started closing. In 2021, still things are a little bit uncertain, but we did start to rebound. So January of 21 really wasn't bad compared to 2019. February down slightly, but not bad. And March again, still down slightly. But even though the first 3 months of the year are down slightly, all indicators are that it's going to be a strong summer. And I think that we can meet our 2019 goal of over 1 million rooms sold. So now we'll hop over to the AirDNA, which is our short-term rentals. So 2020 versus 2021, you can see the increase is pretty dramatic, and the average daily rate is high for the short-term rentals because 90% of those are entire homes. So we'll just keep an eye on those as the summer progresses. Again, demand has rebounded, and a newsletter from AirDNA said that their bookings now through July and August are the best that they have seen in their record-keeping period of time. So again, all indicators are pointing to a really good summer. And I have some other information a little further in the presentation about our outlook for the summer. So moving on to website analytics. Just a quick measure of first quarter for the past 3 years. In 2019, we had, you can see at the bottom, 2019 and 2020 sessions. And every year, our number of sessions have increased. So a goal this year could be 2 million visitor sessions. Again, we're off to a pretty good start. The decrease this year, and I asked Paul to take a look at our analytics for January, February, March. Why were we down slightly over last year at this same period of time? And it was searches for events, which are not taking place. Even though we did have Winterfest, we did not have Winter Carnival, but event searches seem to be the category that took the hit in this early part of the year. So our goal again would be to meet our 2019 visitor sessions. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to a quick social media comparison. One of our supervisors asked at one point if I could compare some of our other destinations. So our Lake George area is the first at the top, our Facebook of 330,000 followers and our Instagram of 31,000. And you can see a comparison of a handful of our other competitors. Certainly Isle of New York has a considerable following. And well, don't you know that Myrtle Beach is doing a really good job on Facebook. But in terms of Saratoga, Lake Placid, even the Finger Lakes and Adirondacks, we're doing quite well on Facebook. Instagram is a newer platform to us. I will note that since Casey O'Brien came on board, we have doubled our Instagram followers. So that's a newer platform for us. Facebook has been our tried and true for many years, but Instagram we've only had up and running for a couple of years. So she will continue to grow our Instagram followers. I'll just show you a couple of our social media posts over the winter and then into the spring. Organic, meaning we do not spend any money on this. This was the town of North Creek, and Casey was out and about photographing, and this was kind of a pretty winter scene up in North Creek, and one of our higher level engagement posts on Instagram. The next is Instagram for spring. So she was up at Pack Forest. I think this is the grandmother tree.
Mhm.
Supervisor Garrity knows. So she's always trying to get around the county, but again, high level engagement on Instagram. The next would be, let's look at some paid social media. So this was our Facebook, one of our Facebook paid social media posts this winter. And the article was 12 different towns around the county. So Tanya Brand, we did lose our copywriter, but Tanya wrote this blog story for us, and it included things to do around the county. And we did put some money behind that. And you can see the impressions are over 1.5 million, 21,000 link clicks, lots of likes, and the cost per click was only 23 cents. So the beauty of the blog post is that you place it on social media and then it drives traffic to your website. So we had 24, almost 25,000 page views, and people were spending 2 minutes online. So you know that they were taking time to read that. So the blog post goes along with the social media post, which in turn drives traffic to your website. So it all kind of comes together there. The next, so that would have been our winter paid social, our spring paid social, which we had ready and raring to go last year at this time. But when businesses closed down, we were not able to launch this video. Can you show us the video? Paul was going to try to click.
Okay.
Paul, if you're there.
Stop the chair.
So the impressions on that video were almost 1 million, 16,000 people clicked on it, 3,000 likes. And again, that cost per click was only 36 cents. Think back to when we were looking at the proposals for the media buy. Some of the vendors came in with a cost per click on social media, and they were over $1, $1.50. We placed this in-house in our own department. The cost per click was 36 cents. So I think we're doing a fine job of reaching our audience, and we're not paying commission on that. So I'm thankful to my staff who's monitoring that and engaging with all of the comments. Paul, are you able to show that video? And we may not. We had to do it outside the realm of the PowerPoint.
Here.
Joanne, how much is one of these cost?
I could have told you last year's guide, and I don't know if I have that off the top of my head.
I see.
I will. Okay, so if we can't show that video, a number of you have seen it and have remarked that you liked it, and we did a nice job. We worked on the video through our partnership with Working Pictures. They're the vendor for our video production. And it was basically, some kids in a car, and they're all looking at their screens, and then they're at the trampoline park, and they're doing all these really fun, indoor fun things.
There it is.
There
Yay.
it goes.
And there should be audio. There really is a nice snappy audio that goes with this. So the kids are having fun, and now instead of being on their phones, they're chattering in the car on the way home. So, it's mud season, it's April, and it's spring break, and what do we do with the kids? So come to the Lake George area, and there's plenty to do indoors and have fun and break away from the screens. All right, we'll have to polish that video presentation. The last slide on social media is our partnership with the Adirondack region, and we're on a rotation with the other 7 counties in the our Adirondack group, and we'll post to Instagram and Facebook on behalf of Warren County. The following week it could be Essex County, the following week it could be Franklin County, but when we do post here, we always have high levels of engagement. So the folks in the Adirondacks, our followers, do enjoy the Lake George area. So looking ahead to 2021, you know, as I'm reading all the time, little snippets here and there about how optimistic the travel industry is for the upcoming year. Google search is the highest it's been in a decade for resorts and hotels. 87% of American travelers plan to travel within the next 6 months, many of them who did not travel last year. 54% of travelers will travel within their own state. We've heard that many times. And domestic travel will dominate because international travel is still questionable. And then, of course, there's the proclivity for short term travel and spontaneous travel, and that speaks to our Saratoga and Albany and Utica markets that can make a decision, you know, let's look ahead at the weather. It looks great. Let's hop in the car and go. People are getting their vaccines, so they're feeling confident. They want to see their family and friends. They missed events last year. They missed weddings, reunions, and milestones. And the travel guidance has relaxed a little bit, so we are able to travel around the state. The last bullet for matching funds, we did just hear in the governor's budget that matching funds has been restored. We were without that for most of last year. Well, for all of last year. $3.45 million. We don't have a rollout yet. We haven't been asked to submit applications, but part of the matching funds dollars were used to produce our travel guide. So when we get to the travel guide this year, that's one of the things that we will be able to fund. Our media buy. So you certainly will not be able to read this on the screen. And I did send the single page attachment out to my committee last week, and it was posted with the agenda. So this is the media buy that's put together by Workshop. It does include both television, broadcast, and digital. Please note that the television is only around the news because people are still watching the news. And the digital is actually the bulk of the spend. So it's, by the time you factor in the digital that we do in our office, the digital with Workshop, it's 64% of our budget, and then the balance is broadcast. We will start early, the first week in May, because again, we know people are planning. And we split up the budget between, we thought that worked well last year with the pre-4th of July and then the post-4th of July. So the majority of the dollars are being spent early, pre-4th of July. But then we will continue and then change the messaging a little bit post-4th of July once people have made their decision to travel. So first of all, it's, yes, we want to travel, and it's a very competitive landscape out there. So we want people to choose our destination, and then the message becomes things to see and do and experiences and events that are taking place later in the summer are the things that we will promote later in the season. Okay, the next slide, just a couple of quick things that it's only 2 things, but they're really big deals. What's new in 2021? Events are coming back online, and that's a huge deal. And the Great Escape is coming back online. So for the summer that we had last year, or the entire year of 2021, only being down, I think it was 12% in off-tax collections, with 2 major generators of interest coming back online this year. Again, it points to a really great summer. People are looking for experiences, they're looking for local travel, and still picking up where we left off last year, outdoor recreation will be incredibly popular. Our quick review, oh, there should be one other slide in there that's titled Content Calendar. And it's not right after that? Okay. Well, then that was my mistake. There it is, Content Calendar. Okay. Maybe I may have switched 2 pages. Let's look at Content Calendar. Just a quick high level, what are we promoting each month? So these will be the things that we'll share on digital and on social media. And I'll share this on my 3 o'clock call today with the hospitality group so that they are in sync with us and what activities we are promoting throughout the season. Okay, the lodging survey. So again, this discussion came up on the hospitality call, that many of the hoteliers that are on the call are saying that their bookings have increased tremendously over last year. Bookings are early. So should we reach out to our lodging properties? So Paul sent out a survey last Wednesday, and I don't have all of the details yet because answers are still coming in. But the quick answer is yes, things are off to a good start, and bookings are ahead of last year. 58% of people said that bookings are better than average to fantastic for this time of year. So we can look further into the type of lodging. Is it the waterfront lodging that says they're better than average? That is initially what we are seeing, but as the results continue to come in, we'll take a closer look at that and come back with the results of that, and then base our advertising and promotions on what we're seeing. So again, if people are booking early, we want them to choose us. And then later, that's when we switch the messaging to things to do later in the summer. So our travel trade industry. So our department promotes largely to the consumer, but another arm of the department is travel trade, which is motor coach and international. Certainly 2020 took a hit in terms of group travel, whether it was the CVB and meetings, conventions, and weddings, or whether it was tour operators and motor coach. But Tanya has already been in touch with many of her connections, and tour operators are anxious to hit the road again. They could be smaller groups, but they're still anxious to get out there. Seniors have been vaccinated. That's a large market for the motor coach industry. So they are ready to go. And the students who may have missed school trips last year are also ready to travel again. They're looking for day trips and shorter itineraries just to get back on the road and, get into offering trips again to their markets. And the tour operators, certainly there's still a little bit of, question, uncertainty. How will the rest of the summer play out? So the tour operators are looking for flexible bookings and flexible cancellation policies in case they have to change things later as the season progresses. But they are looking for safe, they're looking for accessible, which we are, and we are a sought after destination. The only show that Tanya will attend this year is ABA, and attendance there is actually virtual. This is the premier motor coach event of the industry. The format this year will be appointment-based only. So these are the tour operators that are domestic, the receptive operators, and travel suppliers. They will make individual appointments with Tanya, and I know that she's already had some a week or so ago, and she has additional appointments scheduled in the coming weeks, but they're one-on-one appointments with individuals and tour operators who have requested that they want to meet with Tanya. They recognize the Lake George area as an attractive destination, and they are planning to, travel again, whether it's 2021 or 22. The Queensberry Hotel and the Lake George Steamboat Company are also participating in this ABA virtual event, as are I Love New York and NICEA, which is our state tourism organization. So I think that's most of my presentation
Okay.
for Q1.
Does anybody have any questions, real quick? Mike?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Joanne, and I know you attend the hospitality group meetings on Mondays with Mark Bean and the rest of the group. It's a constant theme that we're really lacking in resources to staff. We can't find the employees to staff our hotels, our restaurants. Great Escape is also having major issues. Is there any discussion about cutting back on some of our promotion so that we don't get to the point where we have visitors that can't do what they need to do, can't find rooms, can't find places to stay or eat or entertain themselves because of the fact that we don't have the J1s again this year, as far as we know. And we can't get enough locals to help us with the demand that we have. Any thoughts?
We've thought about it, but at this point, we have not cut back on our advertising budget. Certainly, any of this can be changed if we find that the staffing is impacting the service that much. The last thing we want to do is have people come and not meet their expectations. But at this moment in time, we have not changed our outlook for the summer.
And Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, just to follow up, Joanne, are there discussions about that during the hospitality group? I've not made all of them recently. But is that...
I can't say that I've heard discussion about cutting back. It's more about how can we fill the jobs. And Liza and all of the hoteliers are getting kind of creative when it comes to, ways to attract employees. But I have not heard discussion about cutting back.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Chairman. Joanne, I love that video, I gotta say. That video is super fun, and I find it ironic that it was made in 2019
Right.
before the pandemic, because it was spot on for the pandemic.
Even without audio.
To hinge on Supervisor Wild's observation, the hospitality communication group has discussed, as well as has the Economic Recovery Task Force, ways to engage more workers. And that's been a complex and deep conversation. And it's certainly a challenge when we don't know the status of the J1s. But these groups of great minds are in fact working on it. I have a suggestion though, in terms of the advertising. I don't want to see us cut back on it, but I will note that in the magazine you handed us, 2 of our major summer venues are not even mentioned, Lake Luzerne and Hague. We have housing throughout the county. There's lots of Airbnb in Thurman. Stony Creek has worked hard to develop their trail system. Is there any way that we can start to push people out of these overburdened lakeside communities and into some of the other communities?
We always try to get people around the county, so I'll just give you the example of the blog that we ran this summer about the 12 towns, things to do in winter. There was a winter fest, there's always winter carnival, but we're always trying to get people around the county. I think the thought behind the little travel guide, I'll call it an inspiration guide, was just to highlight activities and experiences that you could find when you were visiting. So there was nothing intentional that we left out one town or another. I thought there was a beautiful photo of Luzerne in there.
But it wasn't identified as Lake Luzerne.
Correct.
So can I just ask for future guides that each town at least get their name in print once within the guide? It might help to raise the profile of each and every one of our communities.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll be back to a full scale guide this year.
Thank you.
Supervisor Beatty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think we should be cutting back on drawing people in. Sales tax dollars are our lifeblood. And yes, are there challenges in filling positions? There's no question. In fact, I've heard that same position the last 6 years of always finding enough workers. I don't think the final decision has been made on the J1 program. In fact, from what I read, I think it's going to be opened up again under the Biden administration, but I'm not going to make a final statement on that, but look, it's looking better. I'm not sure if Mr. Wild wanting to cut back advertising makes a lot of sense to me,
Point of order.
especially since we're trying to increase
Order, Mr.
I'll
Chair.
get you.
increase tourism. So
Okay.
I appreciate his input, but I think we go full steam ahead in trying to attract people into the best county in the state. And there we have it. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Mike, you had Supervisor Wild.
And Mr. Chairman, thank you, but I need to remind the board that we are a board. We do things and we follow the rules of order, and calling out individuals is inappropriate. It's defined very clearly in this book. Unfortunately, I have to spend all sorts of time to try to figure out
Thank you.
exactly what's in here,
Thank you.
but it's way too much. We need to stop that,
Thank you.
and more to come on that.
Okay. Any comments about the presentation? Seeing none, we'll go right into the Lake George CBB quarterly report. Gina, are you on?
I am. Thank you so much.
Okay. The floor is yours, Gina.
Thank you. I'm not sure who's queuing up the PowerPoint, but if you could queue that up, that'd be great.
Okay. Hang on just for a minute.
Thank you.
You had a lot of good information in your report, Gina. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin, Supervisor Chairman. Good morning, everyone. I'm Gina Mincer, the Executive Director of the Lake George Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau. And we appreciate the opportunity to present our Q1 outcomes report.
Okay.
That being shared.
Oh, we're trying to get there. Just a minute. There we go.
Thank you. All right.
Okay,
So we're
Gina.
going to jump to the second slide.
Okay.
So our Lake George Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau overview. So we work in alignment with Warren County Tourism and the Occupancy Tax Committee. We also answer to our board of directors, which includes a variety of folks within our destination. Our board of directors is led by Dennis LaFontaine, our president and owner of Martha's, Janice Fox from Adirondack Cotton Company, Jeff Bartone of the Great Escape Lodge and Great Escape, Gary Thornquist of the Lake George RV Park, Matt Tormino of Dunham's Bay, John Carr of the Adirondack Pub and Brewery, Vinny Cressito III of the Holiday Inn Resort, Tyler Herrick of the Queensberry Hotel, Sasha Party of the Adirondack Winery, Greg Tracy of Bartlett, Pontiff, Stewart, and Rhodes, and he's also the owner of the Tiki Boats, Fred Vogel of the Lodges at Cresthaven, Scott Wood of the Lobster Pot, and Tom Wysocki of the Fort William Henry. And I tell you this because our work, we answer to them every day in ensuring that we're doing the right work of our marketing plan on behalf of the county as the Lake George Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau. Our goal is to be the community concierge with regard to our supporting our clients as well as servicing our destination partners. And again, throughout this plan, we did want to go back to 2019 to show where we were, because many of you were not on the committee at that time when those marketing plans were approved for 2019 and 2020, and then where we are today for 2021 and moving forward. And throughout all of this, the pandemic pivot that we did to ensure the health and vitality of our community. Next slide, please. So the Lake George Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau Economic Impact. In 2019, we saw ourselves as the economic engine cooking with gas. We had, by year end, we had booked $28 million in economic impact of among 70 events and meetings. And we had a very aggressive approach as our marketing plan going into 2020, knowing that our destination partners said, okay, we need you to tweak this and throw in the target market of weddings. We need you to really focus even more so on that midweek business of corporate and state association and regional association business. So all of that was in our plan moving from 2019 to 2020 to continue that strong ROI of returning dollars in sales and occupancy tax to the county. And then 2020 hits with the pandemic realizations were that cancellations, postponements, reschedulings, all of that were part of our work. And with that, you know, we needed to ensure, I mean, we began the year with all vim and vigor like everybody did in 2020, but then we needed to completely pivot and went into overdrive with regard to Warren County economic recovery, which really turned most of our attention to anything that we could do to better our community, whether that was to walk through all of the best practices and handhold from first hour, you know, we focused on our lodging, working with Ryan and understanding all of the guidance to ensure people were opening safely. Then we turned our attention to the food and beverage segment of our market. And then we turned our attention to attractions and those that could open. And that was throughout the year. And all of this time, and throughout 2020, we really looked at it where while the world paused, we did not. We persisted and positioned ourselves so that by year end of 2020, we were looking ahead to 2021, where we needed to restructure to rebuild. And in doing so, again, to truly serve our partnerships throughout our destination, as well as supporting our clients, which we, again, had handheld throughout this year of their cancellations, postponements, and reschedulings. Next slide, please. So the pandemic pivot. Again, as I mentioned, while the world paused, we persisted and positioned ourselves with the communities that we serve and support. Next slide, please. So our new reality were meetings and sports. What are the current trends and guidelines? Our facility availability and our messaging. So that, again, has been our overarching, especially within this first quarter. So again, in late December, we needed to look at, you know, we had this plan for this affinity marketing to replace business that would have normally come. Normally in our first quarter, we would see groups that would come by bus, ski groups, and snowmobile groups don't come by bus, but they come, and others who actually come here that may not have because of the pandemic, because of transportation, because they're not coming on a bus, and they're not doing the things that they would normally do because of the pandemic. We also had limitations with our facilities. And when we first think about those groups that would normally come, we needed to look at what are the capacity restrictions, COVID testing. You know, we wanted to continue to ensure, you know, everybody's embracing those safety practices. And we've been following closely those trends and guidelines. You know, Joanne mentioned in her presentation about, you know, the seniors that are ready to get out there. Well, they're going to be some of the ones who will come out first. But like she said, those cancellations and their those just the policies that are in place we need to look at. And those are some of the guidelines that we're working on right now, and those current trends to help our destination partners right now book that business for the future this year. So the other facility availability, you know, I mentioned, you know, all of our meetings and sports, what was available and what is available. So with the dome collapse in December, again, we all needed to be flexible and nimble because whether everybody here on this committee knows it or not, the Dome feeds many of our hotel lodging properties throughout the winter months with their indoor softball tournaments. So with that one facility closed, that impacted weekend business from really, it began in December through March. And so part of our, even more so in our affinity group marketing, which you'll see in just a moment, was really knowing that. And we were trying to also capitalize on groups that, again, would normally come here. So those restrictions and other facility availability right now, many sporting groups would have used our parks, our schools, our school fields, our school gyms, which again are not being allowed for state and regional tournaments. And so again, that's inhibited our ability to sell that particular market. So we've really stayed focused on what we can sell versus on what we can't. And lastly, with regard to messaging. So as I mentioned, we persisted and positioned ourselves with all of our safety messaging. And, that went internally within our community, but also externally. We told the world about our safety badges, and we told the world that we were such a safe community over and over and over and over again. And while we have continued that, now as we move forward after Q1 and moving on, that safety messaging will be like an underbelly of all of our messaging, but now we'll pivot once again to smaller is better. And there's so much more that you can do here. And really keeping that safety message as as I mentioned, the underbelly, but amplifying the messaging based on this is a great destination to visit and to meet here and to gather. Next slide, please. So our first quarter, and again, in the outcomes report that we provided, we have a history of affinity groups that already would have come here normally. We would have seen, as I mentioned, ski groups come by bus. We would have seen our ballrooms filled with scrapbookers or quilters or woodworkers who come together like a reunion, but we call them affinity groups. And so we really amplified that message with trying to bring them here specifically. So January was winter groups. So we had a list of every snowmobile club in New York State, marketing to them for all of January, every ski group from schools and clubs, and just to get them to think about our mountains or to ensure that they bought the pass through New York State. And then February, we focused on our artisan groups, those scrapbookers, those artisan type groups. And then in March, we focused on religious groups and really to capitalize on the top of mind faith traditions, whether it be Lent, Easter, and Passover. Again, groups that might have normally come here in some way, shape, or form. And throughout all of this time, we had wedding promotion happening that began in November that stretched through early March. And that was to align with normal engagement period. So, and then the underbelly of it all was when we all became all hands on deck with regard to Winterfest. I know for us, it was the entire Lake George Regional Chamber of Commerce and CVB staff that helped in some way, shape, or form serve Winterfest, whether that was just answering phones and all of the questions, putting together and distributing welcome bags that were produced, wristband distribution, fireworks, COVID police, or compliance, if you will, and more, just because we knew that anything that we could do to support that community effort was everybody's job. Next, one thing here. So this whole affinity group collaborative marketing effort, we worked with Mannix Marketing on this, and we gained over 1,000 new contacts where they opted in to receive more information for their group. We specifically asked for their group information, and we could have never done that with a trade show of any sort. Thank you. Next slide, please. So our marketing and advertising, our goal has been to align with Warren County tourism in the Lake George area. And Joanne had shown her the media calendar working with workshop. And I had reached out to Joanne to understand when that broadcast digital advertising would happen so we could align and amplify the Lake George area messaging with our meeting messages in the same time frames. So you'll see heavy spring, April through June, really it's late April through June in that meetings market. And this is where we shift from everything was all about safety, safety, safety. And every destination and meeting destination across the country's message has been all about safety. Now we're aligning more with the smaller is better. And you're the big fish in our pond. And we will continue to amplify the message for folks to host their meetings and events. And this advertising will take place in state, regional, and national publications. And as I mentioned, so the spring is from late April to early June. And then again, another blitzkrieg, so to speak, in the fall from August to October. And in the fall, we'll be able to show who's already booked and use some of that peer pressure, if you will, to help others to say, oh, this is the destination we want to be in because they're doing things right, safely and responsibly, but they understand hybrid meetings and people are willing to come back and meet in that destination. The other aspect is that we're leveraging our memberships. We're actively engaged and that's, participating in the organizations that we are members. And we're organically connecting with members through LinkedIn and other social media platforms to keep us top of mind in any place that we can in terms of having a seat at the table. So overall, our alignment with the Lake George area brand management is to supplement the messaging of Warren County tourism with the goal of transitioning a meeting attendee into a leisure traveler. Next slide, please. Community development. So as we all saw in 2020, our community development efforts it's all about collaboration. And one area that we had proposed for our 2020 year, and which we actually completed, but was early on, like in 2019, or even earlier, I had talked with Joanne about arrival to departure tourism. We're in a training program. And she had let me know that wasn't really in the bandwidth of Warren County tourism, but we knew that would be a big deal for our community and part of our community development to pursue that. So we made that a priority in our plans for 2020, among other community development efforts. Next slide, please. So along with all of our collaborative efforts, we really wanted to put ourselves out there, the Lake George Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau, as the destination partner resource. So everything that came from Ryan Moore and Warren County with regard to anything guideline related, we needed to be out there first and foremost to handhold folks so that they could understand how it would directly impact their clients and or their facility. And we've done this through our monthly meetings. Understanding the trends and guideline communication is key. I mean, it's daily, sometimes hourly as the changes have occurred. We've continued that effort. And even at times we needed to bring in others to help us see through the legalese of some of those guidance, to not always have the burden on the Warren County administrators' offices. We've also looked at trends that are happening throughout the state with, how are people restructuring and realigning and adhering to the guidelines to the best of their ability to meet their budget goals, as well as, understanding the limited staffing that some facilities have. So that's been since day one of the pandemic and, all of our efforts, even moving forward. Public relations has been very big for our destination, and we were part of the forefront of that back last April when we all began our hospitality communications group. And we continue to be at the forefront of public relations with regard to our destination and the Lake George area. This past month, we were asked to be part of an ascertainment meeting with Becky Wood of the Lake George Six Flags, where it was all news directors of the Capital Region, and where we could talk about the summer season. We also put the underbelly of group business, because that is, no matter what, we need that group-based business for all of our destination partners. And we will now turn this into even more so, working with Joanne, we're getting a survey out for all media to know who can cover us and what they would write about and or cover digitally or broadcast wise. And then who are those in our destination who can be interviewed, not just us? Who are those destination partners? Who are those experts in our destination where we all get more media play from that? So we're working on that. Our Arrival to Departure Tourism Awareness Training Program. This training program, so far, we've had 84 people go through the program, and we're aligned with SUNY Adirondack, who's been a co-collaborator since the inception of this program, to help us be the best teachers that we can be, facilitators for this program, because of, with our goal of learner outcomes. So we're in the process now where we have reevaluated our efforts. We need to tweak our messaging, because online learning has been tough for many people. And now with our more of our lodging properties opening up, knowing that they have so much in-house cross-training due to limited staffing, we'll be focusing more on our destination partners from retail, attractions, and dining as our thrust to reach our goal of 150 trained by May 31st. Mike Wild mentioned hiring. Well, last year, collaboratively with Warren County Tourism and our destination partners, we had launched LakeGeorgesHiring.com, a site where ARCC, Lake George Regional Chamber of Commerce, Indeed, all the job boards within our county fed into this website. And Warren County Tourism had put money behind that. And Mike, to your point, so the CVB has taken that on as a piece of ours, as a priority, to ensure that we know that hiring is tough. It's scary right now. When we look at, the numbers that can be done, we'll have some places that will be, operating at 75 or 80% capacity, only because they may not have enough staff. There are some countries that are opening up the J1s. We're following that very closely. We've signed on to every letter. We've sent letters to various consulates and embassies to get them to offer more visa appointments. So the Lake George's hiring, the promotion should begin probably in the next 2 weeks of really major promotion in the region of this website, that anybody that's within our destination can feed their job positions there for free. And we'll just be promoting that to gain more talented staff in the market area. We're also working with Jim Siplon and EDC, as well as the Capital Region. CEG has launched CAP New York, which is a talent acquisition or talent promotion website, if you will, for the entire region, for 8 counties in the region. So again, we are watching that very closely with regard to our efforts to serve our destination partner. So throughout all of this, our overall, our role has been to support our community in all of our tourism and hospitality efforts, as you see here. Next slide, please. And lastly, our wrap up. I mean, as I mentioned, the collaborative efforts of the last year of Warren County Tourism, the Lake George Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau, and all of our destination partners, it has afforded us, a greater opportunity to align and amplify all of the marketing and advertising and sales efforts together. Next slide, please. And we will continue to be that extension of Warren County Tourism in any way, shape, or form, to not step on any toes, of course, but to stay in our lane and complement all of the efforts of our brand manager of Warren County Tourism. And we have a stretch goal that's been our board's push to realize, the occupancy tax investment ROI of 7 to 1. So you can imagine every day that is first and foremost in our mind, to leveraging, the experience and expertise of our board, staff, and all of our destination partners so that we're all rowing together for success. And lastly, there are over in our, the actual Q1 report, we call this internally our outcomes report. There are over 100 line items on this outcomes report for activities and analytics that demonstrate our flexibility and success. And we will continue on this path throughout 2021 and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Any questions for Gina or the CVB? Go ahead, Andrea, Supervisor.
Gina, I just want to say that Arrival to Departure is a really great program, and any help that you need to promote it and reach your 150 goal, I'd like to help. I think we'd all like to help. It's such a cool idea. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Again, we couldn't have done it as well if we didn't have that collaboration with SUNY Adirondack. We just finished it on Friday, a complete evaluation of our messaging, and so that we set up that level of expectation of learners and get the messaging right so that it reaches a cross section of our entire region. So thanks, Andrea. I will reach out. Thank you.
Okay, that looks like the end of this, and then we'll go into Cool Insuring Arena report. Is Jeff available? Jeff Mead?
Yeah, I'm on here, Kevin. Good morning.
Hi, Jeff. The floor is yours.
Liz Mahoney had to hop off a little while ago. She had a work meeting, so I did send in the report, I believe a week or so ago. Right. But certainly, quarter one, we're not permitted to do events in quarter one, and just until recently, we couldn't really have people in the building. We were fortunate enough to keep the ice in from August through the end of March, and we did sell over 340 hours of ice time, mainly to Adirondack Youth Hockey. And when some of the restrictions were lifted, we were able to host games here, and we were able to host sectionals of Adirondack Youth Hockey and a couple other jamboree type events, which did bring people into Warren County for weekend stays and a lot of hockey games. So we're pretty fortunate that we were able to keep and sustain the ice in all winter long. We're still hosting the farmers market each Saturday. This will be the last one, and then they go back outside. Quarter two, it looks like we're going to be able to host 4 dance events / competitions / rehearsals, starting in the middle of May, which is exciting. There's a very good chance we'll host lacrosse camps from June through the end of July with the new professional team in Albany. It's not yet signed, but we've had a lot of discussions, which is very good. So we're allowed to have about 475 people in the building right now for an event, and for Adirondack Thunder hockey that that doesn't currently work, for a concert that doesn't currently work, but we're very hopeful for quarter 3 and quarter 4 that a lot of these restrictions will be lifted, and we're preparing for that as we speak. Certainly, we've lost a lot of our events in the last year. Certainly, a lot of the big ones. We lost a whole season of Thunder hockey. We've lost Section 2 basketball, a couple of state boys finals, Section 2 wrestling, and Section 2 hockey. All have not occurred here in the last year. But the good news is they'll all be back in the fall, winter, and next spring, assuming we continue along the path where we can host guests in the building. So it's been a trying year, but both organizations, the arena and the Adirondack Thunder, are in pretty good financial shape. Fortunately, we've had a lot of community support, and we've been able to get a lot of capital improvement projects done here in the last 3 to 4 months. We've got a busy next 2 months of continuing to improve and upgrade the building. So certainly the money that the county gives us every year to do that is, that's the reason we're able to do this. And the city of Glens Falls gives us the money as well. So, so it's been a challenge the last 13, 14 months, but we're very optimistic for the future. So that's my report. Happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Jeff? Supervisor Bramer?
Thank you, Supervisor Garrity. Hi, Jeff. My
Hello.
question for you is about, I saw the city was allocating money to redo the roof. Where isn't any of the county's capital improvement money going towards that, or no?
No, all that it's obviously, the city owns the building, for lack of better words, we're a tenant in the building. So, the roof has deteriorated, pretty pretty poorly over the last few years. Simply to say, anytime it rains outside, it leaks inside, and over the winter, it even started leaking onto the ice a little bit, which is certainly, a safety factor. But no, the city of Glens Falls will pay for the roof. It's their project. They selected the engineering firm. They are going out to bid, and they will pay for the roof. So the county money that we do get will not go towards this project.
Okay.
Supervisor Dickinson. You're muted.
Will.
There you go, Dennis.
There you go. Thank you. How much of that money do you have collected so far, Jeff? The capital improvement money.
Oh, well, we got the check for $100,000 from Warren County, and the city of Glens Falls has given us $50,000. We got that check in January, and we put in $50,000 of our own dollars. So we're in at $200,000 a year, Dennis, and
Excellent.
we spent $60,000 to date of the $200,000, and we've got a couple other projects we're waiting for final numbers to obviously to put towards capital improvements for 2021.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jeff? Seeing none, thank you, Jeff. And again, thanks to Gina for their reports. Next, I'll request the executive session to go in to talk about the employment history of a particular individual. Can I have a motion to go into executive session? Motion by Supervisor Bramer, second by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to a quick executive session, I promise. Yep, we have to go through.
Point of order. Mr. McGowan's not on this committee.
Oh, you're not? Well, then I'll second it.
Thanks, Amanda.
I'll second
Who's Meyer?
It was my turn. You couldn't tell it was up there 4 feet higher than mine?
I don't know. I feel like a little girl.
You'll let us know when we're clear.
It
Thank you.
is cold now.
Thank you.
Yes, you're right.
I keep hearing that. Wait, hang on.
It's gotten better, but it's not perfect.
But you started more.
You only need to help us.
We got a little off
Coming
because
to-
we're late starting. Gina's report, I didn't expect it to go, so I didn't get the
Right.
slides either. I gotta make sure I get them. Yeah.
Both got your Robert
I
rules.
follow along. It sounded pretty good.
When you're looking out.
Next time I'll set a time frame for it. A lot of data.
No,
that we did things.
you're right. You know, and what I've discovered over
Are we mute yet? We're not.
time, really.
Craig, you cold?
Yeah, it's cold over here. Again.
Chilly here too.
No, no, it's not. But it should be.
What do you mean it's not?
Oh,
Oh, so, I don't know. You know,
Well, obviously you have to be like Supervisor Bramer and get involved a little bit more and,
yeah, keep your heart rate up.
drop your phone, pick it up, something you gotta move.
he doesn't want to have a heart attack.
You're still being recorded.
That's fair.
We got to monitor our heart rate. So, anyway.
Thanks for picking that up, Frank. I was gonna say something, but Amanda's usually spot on that.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Was this
Mm-hmm.